Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico here, CEO of SPIE Asia, Coast to Asia podcast, and the host of the SPIE Asia YouTube channel. Back with another one. Last week, we released a highlighted version of the presentation that I did for Global Sources. It was on sourcing during uncertain times. And obviously, with coronavirus and people not being able to travel, we gave our tips and tricks on how to basically effectively source the way we do, and lessons that we learned because of the PPE craze and how we've had to pivot and adjust the way we do our business. What I wanted to do this week was just release a freebie little teaser of the full presentation. It's essentially the first part of the presentation, my section where I talked about the first step in the SPIE method, which is sourcing.
And we are SourceFind Asia. Today we're going to be talking to you guys about how to source during times of uncertainty, and specifically how to leverage your China network. And we will also introduce to you guys the SPIE method, which is what we use to get through some of these sourcing situations. And then towards the end of our presentation, we're going to introduce a digital summit, which is an online platform that we've created to go in more depth about these particular aspects than we have the ability to here in this short presentation. And then, as Megla mentioned earlier, we're going to do a panel discussion and a Q&A with both Rico, myself, and Richard at the end of this presentation. So, guys, we are SourceFind Asia. We are a Hong Kong-based sourcing company with offices in mainland China, headed by both Rico and myself. As Megla mentioned, we're in Philippines and America. We also have employees that are in the Philippines and Finland. So we're mainly based in China and deal with China sourcing, but we are definitely a worldwide company with business operations in all parts of the globe. So a little bit more in-depth info into myself. My name is Michael Shearhorn, also known in some circles as China Mike. And how I got into sourcing was I first arrived in China back in February of 2008 as a business exchange student. I was coming from the University of Florida in the US. And after a few months, I finished my school. From there, in November of 2011, I went down to Hong Kong and created SourceFind Asia. And since then, I have worked with clients across dozens of physical product industries. So that's a little bit of background into me. And now I'll turn it over to the CEO of SFA, Mr. Rico Ngoma.
Thanks, Mike. So just a little bit about myself. Towards the end of 2013, I was about to go into my last year of university, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. So as us millennials do, we jump on the interwebs, and I came across a YouTube channel called The Elevator Life, which is now called Enter China. And I was inspired, so I decided to take a risk. And I said, you know what, next year after I finish school, I'm going to move over to China from Toronto. So September 2014, I made the shift, moved to Guangzhou, joined the Enter China community because they had built a community with entrepreneurs. And one of the founders, Nick Ramil, was actually the person who introduced me to China Mike. So that's where we were. This is where we are now. We have a YouTube channel called SourceFind Asia. Made in China podcast has been running for 4 years. We have our office in Guangzhou, as Mike mentioned, and we've expanded to Europe and Philippines. We've worked with some major corporations such as Cirque du Soleil, Walmart, and this year we were involved with a lot of the PPE exports, and specifically one of our clients was able to donate medical gowns to the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. Overall, in the past 4 or 5 years, we've exported around over $20 million worth of product globally. And as I mentioned, we're very proud of what we did with PPE. We did around 14 million units of PPE, and we helped a lot of frontliners get quality products, because I know that was a big issue with people receiving substandard PPE products from China. So let's start with S, which stands for sourcing, pretty straightforward. I think it's important to touch on what could go wrong. One of the first things that we learned very early with the PPE craze, we were getting a lot of inquiries for different products, and we had to basically study all these different products and learn. We had to basically get a degree in these products within a week or two. And some of the products were just unrealistic to source in a high quality manner and follow the same steps that we'd always taken. So one example would be medical gowns. Initially, we literally got a wire transfer from a client at 10 p.m. on a Monday, and then we received the transfer the next morning. And we had gotten quotes from factories at around 30 to 50 cents per unit for these medical gowns. And within 12 hours, we contact the factories and say, hey, we're ready to place an order. And the factories come back to us and say, there's been a new policy. Chinese government has basically banned 90% of factories' ability to export medical gowns from China. And now the prices are $3 to $4. So 30 to 50 cents to $3 to $4. Needless to say, we had to go back to our client and tell them that this was not going to be a realistic product to source. And we also just learned at that moment that, while there's a lot of opportunities, you have to be very careful and just make sure that you do what you think is possible. How did we negate those kind of issues moving forward? Luckily, with that client, they were sourcing multiple products, so we kind of pivoted and shifted to different products. But we have to trust your network, trust your team. So Mike has been in China since 2008, me 2014. We've built our own respective networks and we had to lean on that. We have our team in China, our lead project manager, Imogen, who's been with us for 4 years. So we went through our usual sourcing process, and I'm not going to touch on that because that would take me, another 30 minutes to go through. But we went on our usual sourcing process. And we, reach out to multiple suppliers, we get quotations, we're learning about the products, learning about the certifications needed to export these PP products. And at the same time, we basically had to double our company within the space of 2 weeks to be able to do as much research as we were doing effectively in a quick manner. And then leaning on our networks, we reached out to people that we'd known for 4 or 5 years, for Mike even longer, and reached out to trusted sourcing partners who had already been doing their own research, and we could trust the suppliers that they were introducing to us. So we had to make quick decisions, but we had to lean on our partners and trust. And it was an interesting process because Mike and I were leaning towards partner factories that we were contacting. And then obviously Imogen, our project manager, had done her own research and found good suppliers as well. And that created some internal conflict. So the solution there was, let's split the orders between the two. We de-risk the situation. We satisfy our partners, and we also satisfy our team internally. So it was a very, very difficult process, but we had to use the same processes that we usually use and then learn as we go. So that's it for the sourcing portion. I'm going to pass it on to my esteemed colleague to talk about production.
Thanks, Rico.
All right, guys, again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, if you think you want to see the full presentation, you can actually download the slides and you can watch the full video. Just go to sourcefindasia.com/SFA-digital-summit. So the link will be somewhere here, and the link's going to be in the description of this video as well. Cheers.